Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, also known as DocV, the Pivot Maestro. Welcome to the Define Your Path podcast for those seeking to define their own path into purposed entrepreneurship. This is a show about transforming perspectives as well as inspiring and motivating you to think without a box by exposing you to global thought leaders, change agents, and legacy builders across industries on how they successfully define their path in life and business to profitability and sustainable wins. At Defining Paths, we operate in truth, transparency, and love to help you navigate the waters of your life and put you back in business. And Define Your Path podcast is no different. It all starts in the mind. Will you be the captain or the crew? Today's spotlight is with Sally Gimon. Sally Marie Gimon is a licensed life insurance agent for 19 years and specializes in infinite banking. She helps clients become debt-free in 1/3 of the time and then insures their money when making investments. She holds a weekly mastermind for her real estate group that reaches over 800 investors and hosts Money Secrets weekly on the Win-Win Women TV. Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. V. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you. Can't wait to have my audience learn from you, hear what you're up to in the world, and really just get to know how you came to do what you do. So we look forward to hearing your story, how you faced your fears to love the skin you're in and pivot into pursuing what I call your passion and soul purpose.
Yes. My story starts back in 1989, so please remember this is before cell phones, before the internet. Some of us were alive back then. It was a football Saturday at University of Maryland. I was a resident assistant, and a student needed to get transported to the hospital. So I had my little Chevy Chevette. We put her in the back seat, got her to the hospital. She got her stomach pumped. She was better. She said to me, her Doc Martens, the right heel of her Doc Martens had a fake heel, sort of like, I don't remember if you remember Get Smart, the telephone in the sole of his shoe.
Yes.
In the heel, it was a business card folded with 2 quarters, so I could use a payphone, no cell phones, to call her handler. Mm-hmm. This is before the Kardashians. I have no idea who a handler was. He shows up. It's a beautiful fall Saturday in Washington, D.C. He shows up in 45 minutes, 3-piece suit. He goes in and checks on her. He comes out and he says, whatever you're studying at Maryland, forget it. Become an insurance agent and start an infinite banking policy, and hands me his business card. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So this was fall. In January of 1990, I went with my boyfriend at the time over to Crystal City across the river in Virginia to a family office meeting. Very, very, everyone's all dressed up and I'm in sweats and everything else. I'm like, it's a Tuesday evening. Who cares?
Yeah.
We started talking about infinite banking. It is something that has been around for 179 years. And they said, you start with $25,000 a year for the first 5 years and then go up to $50,000. And I laughed. And they looked at me. I'm like, I'm a college kid. I don't even make $25 an hour. It's a concept that the very rich know about. Mm-hmm. I was on a quest for 30 years. I have been a full-time real estate investor since 2019. And my mentor, Jay Tannenbaum, I do notes, brought in a guest speaker, and Chris got me set up for my first policy. It was a little bit more expensive, $10,000 down, and I pay $600 a month. I went to a convention in January 2020. I asked him to help me with to do a mastermind in my real estate group, and he said to me, "There's not enough money in your real estate group for me to do this." I was shocked. I later found out he actually sold 5 policies in one night in front of 20 people. And I started teaching in my real estate group, and so many of the real estate investors were asking me to talk to their sister, talk to their neighbor, do other things. This is why I started getting out on podcasts, because everyone should know this. I mean, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you don't want to do this policy, but maybe you have a friend who wants it. Maybe your brother needs it. It's a concept that so many people have never heard of. They say about 97% of Americans have never heard of infinite banking.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant because, I vaguely heard about it, but, this is fascinating. And this is why I want the audience to learn, because again, this is like, these are those well-kept secrets, right? That
Yes.
most of us, if we don't come from a family who is well-to-do or, happens to stumble across this knowledge from the circles that they travel in, you would never know these things. And you would think that, oh, there's no way that something like this exists. Even just the clarity and understanding the difference between, okay, the infinite banking and you being an insurance agent, we talked about at the head of the call, and just the whole financial sector. Some people might prop this, squarely in the financial sector. So talk a little bit about your journey, I guess, to your knowledge, your growth and development to come to understand and, be as successful as you have been in this industry.
The godfather of infinite banking is a gentleman called R. Nelson Nash. He wrote a book, Become Your Own Banker. I've read the book. He explains it very well, but he's an economist and it's very dry. I try to make this a little bit more interesting so people can see examples and say, oh, if that person can do it, I can do it too. And, it's amazing. One of my biggest group of people right now are ladies of a certain age, all over, one of them is 69. The rest of them are all over 70. They're not renewing CDs that are making less than 1% and taking policies out on grown grandchildren. And, they're a little bit of a gamble because they have to do this for 4 years. And then the grandchildren have a life insurance policy and grandma's using the cash value to pay for the things she needs. And then the grandchildren are looking into it. So it's multi-generation and helping people. I personally use my policy. I took a non-recourse loan, so all my money's still making compounded interest rate. Albert Einstein, one of the most brilliant people in the world, says compounded interest rate is the 8th wonder of the world. I took $20,000 from my policy, bought a bank-owned home in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, back in July of 2020. Middle of COVID. Had to sit on it for more than a year and a half. When I sold it, I bought it for $20,000. It sold at auction for $64,000. All that money went back into the policy, tax-free. My death benefit grew, and now I can borrow more money back out of it again. Lucky for me, with my real estate investing, I'm debt-free. But I'm going to show you an example of one of my friends who will, in 8 years and 11 months, she'll be debt-free before the age of 50, and she's so happy about that.
Wow. That's amazing to be debt-free.
Yes.
And financially free.
Financially free. And leaving a legacy for the next generation, because the nice thing about it is a very specialized, sophisticated whole life policy. My personal mission, if you all know who Dave Ramsey is, he tells everyone, invest in term, buy term and invest the rest. Dave Ramsey has 3 of these policies himself. And he does not teach his followers. My brother and sister-in-law were Dave Ramsey people to get out of debt. He does not teach people this policy because they want to make term insurance is a cash cow for the insurance companies. I mean, less than 2% of the policies ever get paid out. So the insurance companies and insurance agents are making a lot of commission on this. I do take a 70% commission cut on this, and my real estate's doing well. I can afford to do this, but I want people to know this concept so maybe it can help them in the future or help them now if they would like to look at it.
Absolutely. And I can tell that you're passionate about it. I mean, and all those years ago when you literally stumbled into this, did you know it was your passion? Or, I mean, it seems like you just had that curious mind and you just went for it, you leaned into it. And then as the years have grown, developed, and you've seen it for yourself and how it works, it has literally become your passion.
It's become my passion. I have a policy out. My niece by marriage, I don't want to say bad things about this. Her dad paid for her college and she was a dance major and he makes fun of her all the time. She did the physical. I'm paying for the policy. And at 18, when my this sounds horrible, my grandniece, when she becomes 18, she's going to have $146,000 her freshman year to go to study be a mechanic, be an opera major, maybe go to Georgia Tech, maybe go to not Harvard or Yale, but she's going to have options and no student loans. I mean, if this can help a second generation and then a third generation, I hope people can just learn a little bit from me today, because I am passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about it, and just think about it's been all over the news, just the student loan debt, you know, that so many of us, and my hand is still raised, you know.
I paid off $185,000. Yes.
You know, yes, you know, and to be able to literally have the choice, you know, to exercise that birthright of choice. You know, to say, I want to go to this university, or I want to go to this college, I want to do this or that, right? And have the money, the backing there, you know, not the traditional boxed in way of thinking, because that's one of the goals of this show, to help people start thinking without a box. And this is truly thinking without a box.
Correct. And a really sad statistic, Dr. V, November of 2021, Bankrate had a newspaper article. 80% of Americans have more than $90,000 in debt, and they're not putting 10% into a retirement account or savings for retirement. Infinite banking solves the debt problem, and then will also solve how they'll have money when they're 65, 85, 95, or even older than that. So that's why I'm passionate, and I'm so happy you have me on your show to discuss this.
Oh, absolutely. And I love just learning even more about it, you know, because it's about empowering. We're empowering folks. You're empowering people to define their own path and not be subject to just the normal, our normal social cultural conditioning or the training, the paths that we're placed on, you know, from a young age. You know, and our parents do the best they can. You know, they teach us what they've learned, you know, from whomever taught them. But it's when you're only teaching from it and not really seeking out and to learn about other options or experiences or what have you, you can only, you know, operate in this silo or on this, you know, this little narrow path that you know, someone else put you on, and you thought you had a say in it. But this is truly like another level, next level, you know, one of those best kept secrets.
Best kept secrets. These policies were the only policies around up until the Depression. And unfortunately, so many people lost their jobs, lost their homes, everything else. So it is the secret of the rich. To give you an example, Walt Disney used his policy. He took a loan to buy the land in Anaheim for Disneyland. Doris Christopher, she's took a loan, $20,000 loan, to start Pampered Chef in her basement. She sold that for $6 million to Berkshire Hathaway, and that all went back to her policy with, you know, tax-free.
Wow.
Not to be political, but President Joe Biden, when he filled out his paperwork to run for the presidency, he has 6 policies. I assume 3 for him and 3 for Dr. Jill Biden. Kind of a sad story. I teach in my a real estate group, and I said his policies are with New York Life. One of the people in my real estate group is an agent, 18 years with New York Life. She's like, I've never heard of this. She went to her manager. She went to her district manager. She went to the guy who ran the state of Arizona for New York Life. He told her if she sold one infinite banking policy, they would fire her because they don't make enough commission on these policies.
Wow.
So my friend Stacy, she quietly sold her book of business to other New York Life agents. And now she's an agent under me, going back to all her clients, teaching them about infinite banking. And she is, 18 years, she had a whole book of business, and they wouldn't let her tell her clients about this. That's what's so criminal about it. If you don't have people who do know about it aren't even talking about it because they're worried about making money, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You know, and so many people have issues of speaking truth to power. And that's the only way the world will change. That's the only way anything will change. You know, and her actions spoke truth to power, even though she may or may not have verbalized, you know, but she made the move that she needed to make because she saw just the unfairness and that moral dilemma, that an ethical dilemma that we tend to come up against for most people who have exited the workplace, or, you know, who just want that option to choose for themselves or to, you know, make the world a better place. So, yeah.
And you know, it's, you know, people, so many people are trying to find out something to do to help their families. And if this was just talked about, again, going back to Dave Ramsey, he has an entire platform. He could be talking about this and he neglects to do it. I want him to know my name. That's what I'm out here for. So.
All right, Sally Gimon, to be
yes,
clear.
Yes, watch out, Dave Ramsey. I'm coming for you.
All right, Sally. Oh, this is fascinating. And I know our listeners and our viewers on the video podcast are probably glued to the screen, or to their ears to the podcast. Okay, so let's talk about, how do you help others define their path? You've kind of alluded to it already, but yeah, let's just break that down. Break that down for us.
One of the examples I use, she's a friend of mine. Her husband, 20 years in the Air Force, retired as a master sergeant. Thank you, Mike, for doing 20 years.
Yeah.
When he retired in the Air Force, her SGLI, Servicemen's Group Life Insurance, stopped. He had a choice to continue with what's called Veterans Group Life Insurance. But for Tricia, it was extremely important because, unfortunately, they have their son, and then they're raising her brother's son. Her brother was killed in a car accident when his son was only 2 months old. And for her, life insurance is very, very important. So she had $100,000, but when her husband retired, July 2021, her life insurance disappeared. So I asked her to sit down, let me show her what's going to happen. They are doing $500 a month, $6,000 a year. The first year is the hardest year. She's at 62%. So she puts $500 in, and then she gets $320 back to start a snowball of paying down debt. So she's still paying all her insurance, all her debts first, but then she's got this more money to go towards it. 2 steps to do this. There is you have to take a physical, and then I ask her to open up a second bank account because the money coming from the policy is tax-free money. So I don't want it with her grocery money. I don't want it with her car insurance money or with her car payments and things like this. She first pays her insurance, and then she gets the loan to start paying down her bills. So no offense to Mike, typical guy, he got a beautiful Dodge Ram 250, 2020 Dodge Ram 250. And when they started the policy, he started looking at his paperwork. The first time he read the contract, his interest rate for 7 years on his truck was 29.2%.
Oh, wow.
She called me. She asked me to come over to the house because he was hyperventilating. He's like, our credit cards even don't have that high interest rate. So the first thing we're doing is paying off his truck. Then we're going to start going to other things. So they have a car. She has a 1999 Honda Accord. They have $7,000 in credit card debt. And then their house in Avondale, Arizona. It's about 20 miles west of Phoenix. They will have it all paid off in 8 years and 11 months. She is ecstatic. This means she's debt-free before she's 50 years old. So the first year is hard, so she's missing $180 per month. What we came up with, she loves her coffee. So I don't want to make fun of her. She lives in Phoenix. You don't need coffee when it's 110 degrees outside, but she loves her coffee. So what we found out was every day she was in her car with air conditioning on, the radio on, sitting in the line to get her coffee at Starbucks. We said it was $5 a day. So that, we came up with that amount of money, and it's still a little bit more. What she did was went to Costco, got one of those big, huge, I don't know what you call them, Kerr things, and do it that way. They started in March of 2021. $500 a month. It was hard. That's an extra $500. They're starting to pay down their debt. In July, they put it up to $700. And by the end of 2021, they were putting $1,000 a month into the policy and getting the money out to start paying down their debt. So they're paying it off faster. Year 1, 62%. Year 2, it goes up to 69%. Year 3, they're going to be over 78%. Year 4, she puts $500 in. She can take out $520 out. Year 5, it's even more and more. And with the example, by the time she's 65, she'll still be paying for it, but she'll be getting out 3 times the amount that she put in. And the nice thing about this is it's a non-recourse loan. So it's coming from the insurance. I write with Foresters. There's 10 mutual companies in the United States you could have this policy with. I solely write with Foresters. All her money she's putting in is getting compounded interest rate, 3.5%, compounded interest rate, and dividends. and she's taking the money from the general fund. All the term insurance, the travel insurance, the death and dismemberment insurance. So the money's coming from the general fund. I suggest you pay it back, but no one's going to tell you to pay it back. If you keep the money out, that's your choice. Worst case scenario, when she passes away at age 90, the insurance company will take from the death benefit, and then the rest of the money from the death benefit will go to her family. But it's an amazing policy. It's amazing how compounded interest rate works for you. The faster and faster, the more you put in.
So what I'm hearing as this infinite banking solution is multiverse, if you will. Right. So not only does it have the potential to help you clear your debt, it has in record time than you trying to do it yourself. It has you also you're investing in yourself. Right. So it has the compound interest. You can pull money out to use for whatever you need.
Buy a car, go on vacation, pay off credit cards. Yeah. With who I write with, if you decide to do a policy with me, I can help you there. The physical's free. The free you get at least 2 mapping sessions a year. If you need more, you just schedule it. But they will sit down and talk to you of what you want to do. Mike and Tricia they started in March of 2021. They just had an anniversary. They have made a decision. They're not going to pay off their house quickly. They have their house interest rate at 3.6%, very nice and low. They're going to take the money and invest it in real estate or invest it in cryptocurrency and insure their money while they're investing, and keep paying off their house. That's not their urgent thing, but they're getting options. When you see how much they save on paying interest to the bank for car loans, credit cards. They don't have student loans, thank God for that. But instead they're gaining that interest back and being able to do other options. Her son, who's currently 12, by the time they have everything paid off, he won't even be graduated from high school, and they'll be debt free, and then they'll be able to help him go to school if he wants to go to school. Be able to pay for him to go to school with no student loans or anything.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So it's literally like having another stream of income.
Yes,
that they're developing, and I talk about this a lot. Actually, I just wrote a chapter in this multi-author project that's coming out on June 24th. It's called Inspired Living through Hill House Publishing. And in that chapter, I talk about just the whole theory and concept about how we invest, right, in the stock market, and part of the advice, or not just the stock market, but investing period. And they talk about diversifying your portfolio for risk and, for this, that, and the other. And, if we do that for our finances, how much more should we do that for ourselves, as human beings, diversifying our streams of income, not just trusting, the traditional method of employ or what have you, because as so many have seen with, COVID and, the COVID pandemic and just, downsizing and you name it, these jobs that we think we're safe in you're not safe. You could unfortunately run into, supervisors, managers, what have you, who just don't like you, and they can start to writing, all kind of disciplinary projects in the process. And then next thing you know, and I'm coming from a human resources background. So next thing you know, you're jobless, or you're staring that potential in the face. So, I really encourage people to look into what you're doing, to reach out to you. So Sally, tell them, I'm so excited for you being on the show today, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk about this. I mean, and this is real talk. We say we operate in true transparency and love, and that's what we do. We don't censor our guests, but the only thing we require is that they come with, they're purposed entrepreneurs, and they come with a passion, and they are helping others to find their path. So, go ahead and tell us.
I was going to say congratulations on being in the book, but this is exactly. Think about it. You're insuring your money that you're working, your W-2, if you're doing a side hustle for whatever else you're doing. And, some people talk about, you can take a loan from your 401k at work. Well, like how you talked about, you get fired, you quit, you get downsized, you have 30 days to pay that money back to your 401k.
Yep.
On this, no one's going to be sending you nasty letters. No one's going to be calling you saying, hey, pay back your insurance policy, because the insurance company will get their money when you pass away, whenever you pass away, but your family will still get a legacy. So it's the company I work with to get it started, at least with as low as $500. I know it's hard for people, but once people start seeing what's happening, I was talking to you about my senior citizens. One of the senior citizens, they're all in Killeen, Texas, because it was Trisha's grandmother who started this. One of them has Miguel. He's 21 years old, lives with his older brother. He works at a grocery store. Grandma took out a policy on him. He started his own policy at $500. Now he's putting his entire paycheck into the policy. Don't ask me what Supra he wants. He knows exactly the color, the bells and whistles. He's going to buy the Supra in 2 years, go into the dealership and negotiate the best cash policy, and then just write a check and hand it over. He's going to put down payment on a house in 5 years. So by 5 years, he's going to be 26 years old. He's going to have a house. At age 50, he's going to retire and move to Mexico and drink beer on the beach and watch the pretty ladies walk by and have $5,000 a month coming from his policy that he can live on. I hope to God there's Social Security in 5 years, 10 years. But when you think about it, a 21-year-old kid in 50 years, he's not going to have that. And he's like, I'm quitting the grocery store at age 50. Now I'm going to go drink beer. I'm like, be my guest. You do whatever you want to do. So.
Wait, you play smart, right? You work smart and not harder. Oh, well, he has a plan.
He has a beach shows.
He's serious about it.
17 new clients. I get phone calls. I'm like, hi, I work with Miguel. I'm like, okay, let me get to take down your date of birth. But he wants everybody he knows to at least find out about this. I mean, it just. Because when you figure this out, you're like, oh, my cousin needs to know this. Oh, my best friend needs to know this. Maybe your best friend will be like, nah, I don't want to do it. But at least you gave your best friend an option to learn something new.
Absolutely. And that is the key. When you start diversifying your perspective, I tell you, the world of possibilities truly opens up. Sally, thank you so much for being on our spotlight today. We could just keep talking and talking. My producer might get me. I just be sure to follow Sally on social media. Sally, please tell them, what is your website so they can check you out?
To make an appointment for me, it's learnwithsallymarie.com. SALLYMARIE. On that website, there is a PDF of my 7 streams of income. Again, I don't know where your people are. Some of them are as low as $100. Others are investing in real estate. Okay. But then you can make an appointment. If you would like to find out more about it, it's a free cash flow analysis and it's a free proposal. If you have guests or people who listen to you who cannot pass the physical, I'm going to be honest. If you're a diabetic taking insulin, I don't need. We can find a sibling. Like I was telling you about my niece, my niece by marriage. She did the physical. I'm paying for the policy, and I'm going to give it back to them when my great niece turns 18. But I just bought 2 tax deeds down in Florida with the policy. I'm like, woohoo,
girl, look, that's thinking without a box.
Exactly. And it's so the cash flow analysis is free. The physical, the nurse will come to your home, come to your place of work. I have one of the senior ladies, her grandson did the physical in an Amazon warehouse, lying down on the concrete floor doing EKG. I don't think that was very comfortable. That's free. You get a free mapping session. And if you stay up all night and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, I really don't feel comfortable, you have 4 weeks from the first time you make your payment. You have 4 weeks to say, I don't like this. You get your $500 back, no harm, no foul, because we want to make sure you feel comfortable with what you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sally. Folks, check her out, and you'll be able to access all of her information and connect to her also on the Define Your Path podcast platform. Be sure to visit our virtual home to see what we're up to at definingpaths.online. I am DocV, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. Be true to you and define your path. We'll see you on our next episode. And thanks again so much, Sally. It's been a blast.
You're welcome. Thank you.